And here we go. All right, everybody, stocks by the numbers. Welcome back. We had a high flyer here that we haven't looked at since back in the middle of March, which of course is hitting new 52-week highs today recently and is up roughly 100% over the last 9 months since we last checked it out. So let's find out what's going on. Name of the company, Byrna Tecnologies Incorporated. Symbol BYRN listed here on the NASDAQ. This is a less lethal defense company that sells to individuals, e-commerce. They sell online. They're supposedly going to open up a handful of retail stores, which in my opinion, they already set up like some courses for certain individuals to kind of showcase, I guess, how to use the devices and whatnot. And I feel like that even though the numbers have been coming in pretty solid over the last several quarters, which is probably driving to this growth. But more importantly, they keep getting new orders. And also, if this does have some sort of learning curve, or not necessarily that you need to learn how to use it, but, potentially a little demonstration, then that's why I feel, in my opinion, them starting off small also with just a handful of retail locations to do these demonstrations and maybe have these courses you can sign up for. In my opinion, I actually think that's only going to further sales. And we also heard the last time we looked at it, we saw what was happening in Argentina, right? You got Malay coming in, and a lot of people compare him to Trump. And, he got inflation in check over there. I think it was like the first time Argentina didn't suffer inflation in I don't know how long. But supposedly he's doing big things. But he also had that platform policy similar to Trump with the whole we kind of have to restore law and order and it's getting a little wild out here. And we're seeing multiple different countries putting in orders to Byrna for their less lethal, pistols and rifles and whatnot. Airports are putting in orders. So that's why with the shift now, it seems like, of the world kind of getting itself back on track. I think, in my opinion, not only do these orders continue to come in from international, but also I think here domestically in the States, I think we can potentially hear about an order coming in for whatever, military, police, law enforcement, security guards at Walmart, whatever. You and I both know how the market works and how it reacts. So even if we hear news of that, oh yeah, all Walmart security guards now have, Byrna launchers or whatever, you and I both know what's going to happen to the price of the stock. So hold on, bear with me. I think someone just posted MicroStrategy is going to be added to the QQQ. Yeah, but we want to talk about Byrna because when we look at a stock over here at like 1170 and we hit highs today at 2244 in less than 1 year, we have to pat ourselves on the back and realize again that we're probably doing something right here on this channel. So if we go back here, we saw this was the first time in a few quarters that the company finally started to turn around the light revenue. They were consistently missing on the revenue side. Again, they even enacted a reverse stock split all the way back here in the first half of 2021, doing a 1-for-10. You can see we completely bottomed them out going into the tail end of 23. Then they started to bounce. And you can see that as we were climbing up and started gaining momentum, because potentially maybe we beat them up too much, that's when the revenue started coming in. That's when they started updating us that not only are new orders coming in, but also they were releasing their preliminary quarterly results roughly a month or so ahead of the actual earnings report. And for the last 4 quarters in a row now, I believe, they have released preliminary data that is well above analyst expectations. So just going back over the last couple of quarters here, 15.6 million. Analysts were expecting 14 million. They posted a loss. They were supposedly going to bring in 2 cents a share. Then you can see the next quarter just kept the momentum and completely flipped the script on the EPS side. Ended up reporting flat EPS. Analysts were expecting a loss of 8 cents a share. And we can see revenue comes in at 16.65 million off analyst expectations of 11.49 million, completely destroying that estimate by roughly 45%. Next quarter, same thing. Analysts bump up revenue estimates to 18.65 million. The company posts 20.27 million, beats that estimate by over 8.5%. And on the profitability side, expecting a loss of 1 cent, they post positive 9 cents a share. Last quarter, we can see now slight miss on the EPS side, but again, in my eyes, really nothing to write home about. They posted 4 cents. They were supposedly expecting 4.7 cents, so they missed by 7 thousandths of a percent, 7 thousandths of a cent, excuse me. But on the revenue side, you can see estimates jump up above that 20 million milestone now, 20.84 million. The company brings in 20.85 million and just inches out that beat yet again. The stock actually dropped on that news, and then you can see we began channeling upward, and then we recently broke up and out and started to hit new highs. Now, the company also released preliminary data, I believe, for this quarter, and you can see estimates here are about 25 million. I think the company's saying they're going to bring in roughly 28 million. And also, I believe that they were saying that they saw very good traffic on Black Friday, Cyber Monday, but I don't think it's going to be in these numbers here. Let's get into the news. Current market cap right now still sitting at 488 million. So this company, even after this run-up, is still technically sub $500 million. And again, we value random companies. I mean, we have, no-name pharmaceutical companies that just have the promise 18 months down the road that they're going to have positive clinical trials and they can come out with something big. And you'll have a situation like that where the market will value that stock at 1.3 billion, 1 billion, right? 800 million. And that's why I say, in my opinion, those state of infancy stocks, to value them at high hundred millions or even right around 1 billion is kind of understandable. But now on the flip side, when you have a situation like this, almost similar to what we saw with Fubo, right? We had the reverse stock split. They completely tanked the stock. Then all of a sudden they got the cost in line. Revenue started coming in. Subscribers started to come in. Then the stock was on the up and up. The company itself is now growing from when a couple of years ago it was in contraction mode, right? So Byrna, basically very similar story in my opinion, and that's why with them consistently beating estimates, coming out with preliminary data above expectations, they're probably, in my opinion, going to beat the fiscal full year revenue original guidance for maybe on the EPS side too, but especially for revenue in my opinion. And that's why I personally believe this is going to continue to grow. Now, obviously, it's been raging, and you can make the argument that we're kind of in this potential long-term ascending wedge now since these bottoms, but the company has been delivering. And this top trend line here, I mean, of course, again, we can pull back, and even if we stay in the wedge here, if we immediately sell off, you can see a 33% drop down to $14 a share. Should it go to 14? In my opinion, no. Not unless we really continue to see a sea of red, 4 out of 5 trading days moving forward. But in my opinion, I would say really, I don't even mind it at this price, honestly, in my eyes. But of course, if you can catch it on a sell-off and you can get a dip back down to, 20, sub 20 here in the high teens, obviously be more advantageous for you over the long term. But this top trend line right here, if we go back, look, we have to go back even further, just on the technicals. If we go from the beginning here, when we came out in 06, the stock spiked up. It says like roughly $40 now. I know we had splits and whatnot, but if we connect that trend line, cutting across to those recent highs that were hit back in August of 21, see how I dragged it down and touched right that top candle right there? You can see that this, I'll make it a different color for everybody. Don't want anyone to get confused. But this was obviously our old support trend line that the stock ended up breaking much further down the road, and I was expecting maybe a potential pullback to the 10s, but the stock kept going to 15 after we looked at it. So immediately after we looked at it, you were up like 35%. But then you had the big pullback, and I even said, in my opinion, if this thing pulled back to like 8, 7.5, that would be great, because I said I liked it here at 11 and change. So if it pulled back to 8, 7, I would definitely be salivating. I would add to the position and average down. And obviously we had this big run up. But anyway, going off on a tangent, we can see if we immediately spike up here over the next week or so to this level, we're looking at roughly 2780. And I'd say worst case is we probably run up to this top fib level. There's a 1 year chart, by the way. We run up to this top fib level at 2619. So, in my opinion, I think there is still a lot more growth to be had here with Byrna, and the fact that they're actually generating revenue, and I think they recently have positive operating income now. That you could make the argument that there's more value here. And the fact that we're valuing, as I said, zombie companies or some state of infancy stocks that we get trending online, 2.5, 4, $7 billion market cap. I mean, even to say this could be a $40 stock and we can double the market cap to close to $1 billion, that's, as we say, that's not fishing for the moon in the lake. That is, in my opinion, extremely realistic. And if they continue, as we said, to sign new deals and generate this revenue and beat these estimates more times than not, you will probably eventually see $40 a share, and it could happen sooner than later, in my opinion. The one metric that looks a little overinflated is the PE, because we know that the EPS right now is kind of bouncing around from slightly positive to slightly negative, even though I know last quarter technically was positive and the quarter before that. And we can see the flatness when we were supposed to have a loss. So far for 2024, the company has been steadily reporting some strong EPS numbers, but, could be viewed as a little overvalued, and that's why looking at the trend lines, we could have a little bit of a pullback first. But PE of a touch over 200, the EPS hit and miss, 2 beats, 2 misses over the last 4 quarters. We can see annually we had the little dip down in 23, and that's what really scared investors. That's why the tail end, actually most of 23, but even going into the tail end, you can see it continued to drop down and hit those new lows, and then it eventually bottomed out. People thought it was, again, beat up too much, and then that's when the revenue started to chunk in. So all of a sudden, we had a value play. So here you can see we had a slight dip down in revenue from 48 million in 22 down to 42 million in change in 2023. Company now projecting to double that revenue year over year and post around 85 million for this year, excuse me. So you're going to have year over year revenue growth of roughly 100% now going into 2024. And if we look at that 80 million, 85 million mark with a little bit of positivity, we could say, about 90 million in revenue. So we're trading what's that, like 5x annual revenue right now, which again, it depends who you compare it to, because it could be viewed as positive, could be viewed as negative. But let's get into some of the news here. You can see Byrna growth in Q4. Revenue primarily attributable to continued success of marketing strategies bolstered by traditionally strong holiday sales in November. Byrna Tecnologies sees Q4 revenue 28 million. Sees fiscal year 24 revenue 85.8 million. Right? The initial, I think the initial mark was like 81, 82 million in change. So they're up to projecting almost 86 million for the year. Fourth quarter record revenue here. Let's see. Yep. Innovative, less lethal personal security solutions. So this is why, again, this could be used, as we said, security guards, law enforcement, military. It could be used to individuals, you and I, in our houses. Preliminary results. Total revenue for the fiscal fourth quarter to be 28 million, representing a 79% increase compared to 15.6 million in the fiscal fourth quarter of last year. Full year revenue expected to be a record 85.8 million, more than doubling the 42.6 million reported in 23. Launcher production for the fourth quarter in Fort Wayne, Indiana, exceeded 55,000 launchers. The significant year-over-year growth in fourth quarter revenue, primarily marketing strategy, strong holiday sales. Byrna's e-commerce channels were up $8.9 million over last year, representing 76% of Byrna's total sales for the quarter. Increased production capacity, which exceeded 55,000 launchers produced in the quarter, allowed the company to easily meet the growing demand while maintaining adequate inventory levels ahead of what is expected to be a very strong December. International sales were also up $1 million year over year, including a $43,000 royalty revenue coming from Byrna's new agreement with Byrna LATAM. Black Friday and Cyber Monday sales on Byrna.com are not included in the Q4 or full year 24 results due to the timing of these dates in relation to the company's fiscal year end. Orders taken from Thanksgiving, November 28th, through Cyber Monday, December 2nd, will be included in Byrna's Q1 25 results. So we already potentially have our hand tipped that we're going to beat on revenue now for this next quarter coming up, Q4. They're looking for about 28 million. And again, estimates were what? 25 million. Now, Q1 of 25, they're already telling you that revenue and traffic, sales were up compared with the prior year. And these holiday sale results will not be included until the following quarter's earnings. So that's why, in my opinion, I think it might be set in stone. Again, nothing's guaranteed. We know anything can happen. The company can report or say anything, or findings could come to light. Please understand the risks involved. But as of right now, it seems like the company seems like a shoo-in, in my eyes, to beat Q4 revenue estimates. And now, based on what we're reading here with the holiday numbers coming in, I think they actually have a very strong chance to post another record revenue quarter for Q1 of 25. These orders have already been shipped out to customers as Byrna's fulfillment team has expanded and is now able to ship more than 2,000 packages to customers in a single day. Quote, this year we solidified our position as the leader in the personal less lethal self-defense, driving awareness. We've built remarkable momentum, growing brand awareness, normalizing less lethal products as a viable alternative to lethal weapons. While we are still in the early innings of Byrna's growth trajectory, we believe the continued growth of our direct-to-consumer sales, the upcoming launch of several new Byrna-owned retail stores, and the much-anticipated release of Byrna's materially smaller compact launcher next summer underpins Byrna's enormous growth potential. We're looking forward to sustaining this momentum through the holiday season and into 25 as we continue bringing less lethal alternatives to individuals and law enforcement professionals. You can see most of these numbers. Look at these web sales here, going from over 12 million, over 21 million. Their dedicated dealers up again, about 80%. Law enforcement seems relatively flat. Retail stores up. Total sales obviously up. Byrna for the fourth quarter and full year 2024 in February, which will be accompanied by a conference call to discuss, and about Byrna, okay? Again, they're seeing Q4 revenue 28 million. This quarter coming up in February, estimates 25.3 million. Okay, but again, if excuse me, if we go back all the way to mid-March when we last looked at it, I mean, I saw a lot of positive headlines. Byrna sets one-day record on Cyber Monday, generating 1.4 million in product sales. Total revenue of 2.4 million for Black Friday and Cyber Monday is more than double last year's record. Total order value of approximately 1 million, little over a million, up 91%, was at 537,000 last year. Website order value increased 70% year over year, while Amazon order value grew 162% to approximately 315,000. Total order 1.38 million, a 188% increase from approximately 480,000 in 2023. I mean, look at these numbers. Byrna.com order value rose 189% to approximately almost 1.1 million. Amazon order value jumped 183% to approximately 293,000. Company also highlighted substantial growth of its email marketing capabilities. Byrna's email list has grown by more than 200% year over year, reflecting the effectiveness of its digital marketing strategy. For the kickoff to Black Friday promotion email alone, the company sent over 595,000 emails, achieving a 57% open rate, meaning that's how many of the emails were immediately opened once people saw it in their inbox, and substantial click-through engagement. Those people who then clicked through the link of the promotion in the email to go to the site and potentially put in an order. Quote, this holiday shopping weekend demonstrates the significant momentum behind Byrna and the growing normalization of less lethal personnel. Yep. Generating more than $1 million in orders on 2 separate days reflects the continued effectiveness of our marketing strategy and also the increasing resonance of our products with mainstream consumers. Quote, just 5 years ago, Byrna's total revenue for all of 2019 was $924,000, and now we're achieving more than that in a single day. These results show how far we've come in building the less lethal category, expanding our reach. We're looking forward to building on this success throughout the holiday season and into 25. Right? And it's funny. Look, see what I mean? This is what I mean when I say, be wary of these headlines. And that's why, in my opinion, I like to block out the noise, block out even some of these op-ed articles, right? I'm not talking about earnings reports. I'm just talking about situations like this. And again, I'm not trying to, like personally attack these people, but you understand the gist of what I'm saying. We saw the same thing with SMCI, right? And they were like, oh, SMCI ran a bunch. Should you sell now? It might be a good time for investors to take profits. And then what happened? The stock like bounced back, went from like 600 to like 900 or something, right? And now you see November 26th. Byrna soars to 52-week high. Is it time to cash out? Question mark. Now, I'm sure they lay out a bunch of things in the article, but again, November 26th, stock was, we'll call it like 20, very low 20s. And today now, again, if you held on through that, you're up roughly 10% and you're hitting continued highs, and you might even be on your way to 27, 28 and change. So to put out that article at that time, this is why, again, the difference between you and I is time and experience, and that's why I have the experience seeing articles like that and then potentially kind of agreeing with them to find out a week later I made a big mistake. BYRN maintains its recent price strength. Director sells 5,000 shares. CFO acquires 1,000 shares. Yeah, but I'm just looking for news. We're looking for news. Bear with me here. Byrna price target maintained 20 a share by Roth. Maintained buy at Roth. It was 17, recently upped it to 20. That was about 2 months ago, which came out about a week after those last earnings. CFO acquires shares. Beats estimates. I'm looking for like orders though, Revenue comes in. Okay, I remember seeing orders. Maybe they were a little further back in time here. Bear with me. My apologies. Byrna Tecnologies says it received the order from Argentina's agency responsible for airport security. Byrna Tecnologies, this was back on September 19th, said Thursday it received a 1,000 launcher order from Argentina's federal agency in charge of airport security, the Policía de Seguridad Aeroportuaria. I did my best. The agency initially bought the company's less lethal pistols and rifles in April, and since then it has been training officers to use the launchers and has started deploying them in the country's airports. And there you go. Airport security. Okay, we're reading. Three stocks to buy. B. Riley adjusts price target on Byrna to $25 from $20. Maintains buy. That was back on September 5th. Shares surge after reporting higher preliminary fiscal Q3 revenue. Well, yes, that is now, 3-4 quarters in a row. Like we said, we're getting preliminary results coming in well above expectations. Announces record Q3, revenue up 194% year over year, broke that 20 million mark. Byrna launchers adopted by Uruguayan Ministry of the Interior for enhanced less lethal law enforcement. Byrna Tecnologies today announced that the Ministry of the Interior of Uruguay has purchased 400 Byrna launchers and over 100,000 rounds of less lethal ammunition for the Uruguayan National Police. This purchase, which includes 300 handheld launchers and 100 long gun launchers, was highlighted during a demonstration at the Republican Guards shooting range. The event was attended by Uruguay's Minister of the Interior, along with the senior officials, who emphasized the importance of integrating these less lethal tools into police operations to enhance public safety and reduce reliance on lethal force. These new launchers, another option, critical tool, managing situations such as public demonstrations or incidents where individuals barricade themselves, designed to reduce the combat capacity of potential threats with minimal physical harm. Okay, training sessions. This is why, again, I think that the few retail store locations may be a very, very good thing for Byrna. You know, some people may have heard about it. Now they see the store popped up and like, oh, okay, it's like a weapon, but it's not lethal. Okay, show me how it works. Can I try to shoot it? So that's why I think that the retail stores may actually help, even though we see the shift away from brick and mortar. But Byrna already, through their own website and through Amazon also, as we saw before, seems to be having some pretty good success. So that's why, again, I think the retail locations probably will only help. But let's lead the broader strategy. This development aligns with our broader strategy in Latin America, where we continue to see strong momentum and significant opportunities. This is why I'm saying all these countries where you saw like this supposed like civil unrest and all of these protests and whatnot, that's why I'm saying, in my opinion, Argentina, even here in the States, you may continue to see orders coming in to a company like Byrna. Roth initiated coverage with a buy rating, right? So they first brought it up, they looked at it, they gave it a buy. That was back on August 28th. Stock was 11 and change, basically where it was when we first looked at it. Byrna launchers approved for civilian and security use in Mexico through new federally endorsed training program. Here we go. Security professionals and private citizens in Mexico can now legally carry Byrna launchers following the successful completion of a newly approved federally certified training program. This milestone approval comes after the Secretaría de Trabajo y Previsión Social, there you go, of Mexico endorsed Byrna's less lethal launchers as key component of a DC-3 certification training program. Unlike previous general certification courses, this program developed in partnership, okay, all these cities, specifically tailored to Byrna products, legal guidelines, scenarios, okay, this approval marks another great step forward, yep. Building on the success we've experienced in Canada and South America, we are confident that our products will resonate with individuals in Mexico who seek effective and responsible personal protection solutions. Commitment to safety, yes, very nice, very nice. Byrna Tecnologies launches $10 million share buyback program back August 5th. Byrna said Monday its board of directors has approved a $10 million share stock repurchase program. Sorry, I had way too much coffee today. Over a 24-month period. The company said it intends to finance the program with its existing cash balance, including cash generated from operations. Quote, we believe that our shares are currently undervalued by the market, and this repurchase program demonstrates our confidence in the long-term sustainability of our marketing strategies and business model. August 5th. August 5th. There you go. Look, they continued to drop the stock down. Look, and even, right, that was my mark, basically, 780, 790, where I said, in my opinion, if it breaks there, I would even add to the position. I would like it even more. And that's funny that on that day, we get the announcement of a $10 million stock buyback program. So again, even on the news, even if they got in late at 10, they're up already 120% since making that announcement. And I know, a lot of people out there, some people only buy stocks if they see the board themselves and the company repurchasing stock. So You know, I guess if you're one of those people, I mean, I guess this is technically a green flag for Byrna for you. Byrna Tecnologies equips City of Buenos Aires police with 500 launchers. Police force. This large order was highlighted in a recent demonstration held by the City of Buenos Aires. Training of police officers. City police will integrate 500 Byrna SDs into their operations next month. Personnel already undergoing training. Deactivating a threat from up to 20 meters away. That's, I believe, like 66 feet and change for all my Americans. This training ensures that officers are proficient in use state-of-the-art launchers, the mayor said, continually incorporating new tackle forms, various forms of crime and confrontations with criminals, emphasized the importance of Byrna's technology in modern policing, noting its reduced lethality and extended range compared to handheld stun guns, making it an intermediary step before the use of firearms, which is why, again, being that they kind of fall in this niche of technically it's less lethal, and of course it's, you know, not as powerful compared to a regular firearm, but also at the same time, like the little the little tasers as they're showing, or again, the little, they're all tasers, right? The little stun guns, as they say. Again, I think, you know, it's on the wire, right? That's why as you're like charging towards the cops, or as they're on top of you, here in the States anyway, but as they're kind of on top of you, if you continue to resist, that's when they'll kind of shoot out the stun at you. And yeah, I think that thing only goes like a couple of feet or something. But I don't know. Again, I'm not an expert on that device, but you understand my point. Byrna SD, Byrna's most popular less lethal pistol. Compressed air. Disable a threat up to 50 feet away. Okay, we're reading. Okay. We beat earnings again. We're going back. We're backtracking. July 1st, Byrna joins Russell 3000 index, added to the Russell 3K. Membership includes automatic inclusion in the large cap Russell 1000 index or small cap Russell 2000 index. Yep, we got the CFO coming in. We're reading. We're almost done. Rating upgraded to a strong buy. This is by what? Zacks themselves? Of the Zacks rating, yeah. Now look at this. Upgrade is essentially a reflection of an upward trend in earnings estimates, which again is essentially my number one rule. I've been saying it for over 2.5 years here. Follow the money, follow the revenue. The sole determinant of the Zacks rating is a company's changing earnings picture. What did I tell you? Sales started to come in, orders started to come in, all of a sudden they beat on revenue, they're releasing preliminary data, it's well above expectations, earnings are chunking up, revenue's chunking in, stock has to follow suit. So this was an all-you-can-eat buffet. Again, we looked at it at roughly 11.40 or whatever it was, then it went up to 15 and change, then it went all the way down to sub 8. This was all you can eat. Now it's up here again, hitting new highs today, 22.44. Individual investors also find it hard to make decisions. Okay, yeah, they're going to break down all that. But yeah, shout out to Zacks for that article. B. Riley raised their price target. Again, we know these have changed, but again, this was back in June. I'm just backtracking all the way again back to around March 15th when we looked at the stock, and I said, in my opinion, I like it. B. Riley raises price target to 20 from 17, keeps buy rating. Preliminary revenue exceed 20 million. It's 3 additional media influencers. We're reading. What is this? Okay, this guy got a promotion. Congratulations. Byrna has successfully increased manufacturing capacity. Under his leadership, Byrna has successfully increased manufacturing capacity by 44% from 10,000 to 14,400 launchers per month from January through March 2024. His efforts in rationalization, cost reduction. are expected to yield financial benefits. The design completion of the compact launcher, which again is coming in 2025. He's honored, of course. I mean, what are you really going to say? I didn't want the job, but they picked me. So, I mean, come on, let's be serious. But I love when they put out these statements like this. Planned production and capacity to 18,000 units per month by May, which obviously has come and gone. Very good. Very good, very good. We're reading, we're almost back. Ladenburg raises price target to 16.25 from 12.75, maintains buy rating. B. Riley ups price target on Byrna to 17 from 14, keeps buy rating. We're almost there. Byrna Technology gets 10,000. Oh no, that was the last piece of news. We did our video on the 15th of March. And that was, again, the most recent order from when we looked at it back in March. The 10,000 launcher order from Argentina. Again, we saw Malay coming in, basically adopting that Trump mentality again. Law and order, let's get inflation in check, right? Let's get us back on the right track. And obviously, Byrna really seems to be a company that is really benefiting from this whole really worldly shift, it seems like. But let's check the numbers real quick. I'll let you go. Debt, $2.5 million. Yeah, that's like nothing. Cash was a little bit higher. It's down here at about 20 million. So if we subtract debt from cash, we're at about 17.5 million. We have assets outweighing liabilities in both the short and the long term. We have the equity, dipped down from mid to low 40s, now curling back up, 44, 45 million. Book value per share right now a touch below $2 a share, so we're trading like 9.5, 10 times book. In my opinion, that is not the way to look at this situation, but again, I like to throw it out there because I know people ask what's the book value. We can see positive equity here, 44.5 million. And we had cash from debt was 17.5 million. So if we add that up, we are at, 62 million? 62 million. And now for the year, we said 85 million. Let's look at the last couple of quarters though. So net income positive, 2 million, 1 million. So if they jump up to 28 million as they're projecting, 2 million, 1 million, we can give them at least another 2-3 million conservatively, right? So if they're going to bring in, 85.8 million, and you got to figure at least 5-10 million in profit probably by the end of the year. So that would bring you to 95 million. Plus, what we say, 62. So we'll say 90 even. We'll go in the middle. So that's 152 million, in my opinion, quote unquote, fair value for this business. And you can see we're trading just a touch over. No, actually, we're trading almost exactly 3x. Wait, hold on. No, 62 million, 90 million, 152 million, right. 162 million would be about 3x. My apologies there, brain fart. But, about 150 million in change, 150, 160 million. And you can see the market cap roughly 3x that, still below $500 million. So again, if they're kind of letting you know, hey, listen, holiday sales were great. They're not going to be in, till next quarter. And, and this quarter coming up, we're expecting to post 28 million, and we're going to beat the revenue estimate again. That's why I'm seeing really nothing but positivity here. And even if we switch over to the income statement, you can see something like going back to Q4 of 22. You can see revenue 16 million, cost them cost them about 7.25 million on the cost of goods. And now we fast forward, look, we're now above 20 million back-to-back quarters. And you can see the cost of goods is only slightly higher than it was roughly a year and a half ago. So the revenue is up 25%, and the cost of goods sold technically rose at a much slower rate than where it was roughly 18 months ago. You understand? So now we're able to generate more revenue while it's costing us less. Total revenue minus cost of goods sold yields gross profit. You can see we were up here at 8.6 million, dropped down to 3, and then have been inching up ever since. Now for last quarter, positive 13 million for the gross profit. Operating expenses continuing to climb, but again, staying in proportion over the quarters. Gross profit minus operating expenses yields operating income. Operating income now for the last 2 quarters, positive over 1+ million. So that's why, again, technically, a lot of these numbers moving in the right direction. 200 PE could be viewed as high, but again, the stock has been climbing recently and is now breaking up and hitting new highs. So of course, all of our ratios have increased. 6 times sales, that's the highest it's been, but again, we're on the up and up. 36 times cash flow, in my opinion, really doesn't matter. 9.5 times book value. Yeah. Enterprise value, again, what another company would be willing to pay for this business. Enterprise value currently sitting at roughly 20% lower than current market value, which is why, again, after a big run up, that's why I was saying we might see a pullback, roughly maybe 10%. You see like 20, sub 20, high teens, and then maybe it bounces. People view it as like a nice dip, and they step in, okay, I'll buy this and ride it back up to hopefully 24, 25, right? Our return percentages went positive. Gross margin was in the 50s. We broke above 62, pulled back to 44, and have basically been on the up and up since then. 62.4% for last quarter. That's the highest it's been going back the last 8 quarters. Operating margin, we just looked at a lot of these numbers the last 2 quarters. Operating margin went positive, 9.5%. Last quarter, 5.2%. We were negative the whole time before that. EBITDA was bouncing around, slightly positive, bigly negative, and then we come back and claw ourselves positive here. 1%. 2 quarters ago, 12.8%. Last quarter, 7.6%. Net margin percentage, again, flip positive the same time 3 quarters ago. That's when the revenue really started to chunk in even more than it was. And you can see it was just that little bit more that the company needed to kind of flip the script. And now we have a bunch of these metrics now, not only going positive, but holding positivity. Inventory turnover, we know they're basically shipping them out as soon as they make them. Asset turnover, of course, is up. The debt really didn't move much. Yeah, so all of our debt ratios are basically unchanged. We don't get paid a dividend. We can see the EPS. We had losses, big misses. Then all of a sudden we're flat. We're positive. We're on the up and up. Look, you can see moving forward, all of these quarters expecting EPS positivity. 25 mil again. We're potentially forecasting 28 million. So we're probably going to knock that out of the park. And then you can see moving forward, we're expecting to hold and maintain that 20+ million milestone level of revenue. Over the years, they were expecting to break above 107 million, as you see for 25, and then 130, over 180. So again, this isn't groundbreaking growth, but we know you have to start somewhere. And the fact that they went from 16 to 40s, now they're up to 80, and they're looking to break above 100. Sometimes, like we say, slow and steady wins the race. So, of course, if you're in this one from like 6 years ago, you kind of got screwed because the stock was overvalued, right? They weren't getting the orders, they weren't generating revenue, and then they did a 1-for-10 reverse stock split. If you happen to buy this stock recently, phenomenal call, obviously, and it seems to be working out very handsomely for you, and in my opinion, will probably continue to do so. But they were expecting, again, for 24, 85.8 million, I believe the number was. And you can see, original estimate here, about 83.6 million. So that's why we're coming in well above these estimates here consistently. And that's why, again, even if it dips down here back to a fib of like 18, sub 18, 17, in my opinion, if you would consider jumping on it based on future growth, I mean, I personally can't knock you for it. Again, I liked it all the way back here, and I still say, even after this run-up, I actually still like it. So, of course, if you listen to the video, buy a call tomorrow, and then it pulls back, with all due respect, that's not my problem, because I said I liked it back at 11. So, it took you long enough. But from a share perspective, in my opinion, I do still like this one. But we can see here, we recently had a pivot point back in the month of November of about 22. stock got up to 22.44 and then pulled back slightly sub 22, even though it's up a handful of cents after hours. So we might break above this previous resistance and try to just run up and make these new highs to this next pivot point here, 22.92. You can see we had nice holds and healthy bounces off of this previous pivot point of 18.53, which is why I'm saying we might spike up again real quick and then come down and maybe bring it back down to quote unquote bring it to earth a little bit, and then we can bounce it. But you can see a pivot point at around 18.5, and even we set a pullback to the 17s. You can see the 50-day moving average. If it does pop and then start to drop, 50-day moving average might get up to around like 1740, 1750. So maybe that'll be where the drop comes. You know, that'll be the pullback price. However, we can see that the MACD again spiked up now on today's move and is potentially getting ready to cross. But that's why I'm saying if we continue up a little bit to the next level, we technically would hit new highs. And then maybe right as the MACD is about to cross, you might see a rejection and then it sells off a little bit because it has been on a pretty big tear. So again, in my opinion, you know, do I see it going higher? Yes, of course. Is it going to happen tomorrow? Unfortunately, I do not have that crystal ball for you. But again, we can see the argument for either direction. But I like it. I still like it. RSI sitting at 63.5. So again, we technically have a little bit more room to the upside, right? So that's why a lot of these indicators may be lining up for like one more nice day, and then we start to cool off and people may start to take profits. Switching over to the weekly, you can see as well on the weekly time frame, RSI just a touch below 67. So that's why we're approaching that 70 benchmark on both the daily and the weekly, which is why we may be due for a pullback. 19, 18, 17. But again, I don't mind it here at 21. So if I was to take a position now, hypothetically, and then a month from now it's at, 17, obviously, I would like it even more, but that's just me. We'll check the pivot points real quick. No, we looked at the pivot points. We'll check the Bollinger Bands real quick. Top Bollinger Band on the weekly, 23.14. Resistant pivot point was 22.92. So we may not hit 23, but as we know, who knows? Only time will tell. Top Bollinger Band on the daily, 21.46, which is why, again, technically it closed above it, which is bullish. But you can see even, look, the last time it spiked up and closed above the top Bollinger Band, you can see like it maintained and then it dropped down. Even right here, look, spikes up to it, and then you can see kind of opens, maintains, and then drops down. So that's why I'm seeing maybe a continued run with a little more RSI room and then a drop down. So that's why if you miss this one, obviously you might not see, 780 or back here. You might not see 780 or $11, but if you could see 18, 17 and change, I think that might be pretty awesome for a situation like this, especially supposedly gearing themselves up to have an even better 2025. But I know that was a very long video, but again, my apologies. We looked at it back 9 months ago. I wanted to go back, check all news headlines that came out. Of course, check some earnings numbers and look at some recent news. So hopefully we covered a little bit of everything here in regards to BYRN. Actually, you know what? People love short interest. Let's check the short interest real quick. Shouldn't be too high. Short, where is it? 15.8%. Really? Well, apparently, according to FinViz, again, I don't know how often this is updated. I think people mention like every day or once a week or something. I don't remember, honestly. But, yeah, short float right now, according to FinViz, roughly 15.8% of the float is shorted. Which is why now, again, being above this top trend line, I mean, who knows? It always seems too, like when the technicals, when you see a breakout like this, it's funny how it always seems you get another piece of news, right? It reminds me, what did we just see with Soundhound, right? Remember Soundhound got up above that line and we were like, oh, are we going to hold 12 or are we going to come back down, right? And then what happened? As it broke up in the technicals and people were hoping for another leg higher, we got the news of the Torchy's Tacos or whatever, and that helped kind of force the squeeze, and that pumped the stock up even more to 15, 16, right? So now with the stock above this top trend line, and with a little room to go in the technicals, but the short float again, almost 16%. That's why, again, we could, for all we know, get a piece of positive news tomorrow, and that may just massively squeeze the stock up to 26, high 27. Who knows? Who knows? But yeah, technically short float right now, according to FinViz, 15.8%. And I spoke for way too long, but again, I like doing this. And it's even more enjoyable, of course, when we get the call correct. So this one worked out for us. And again, like I said, in my opinion, long term, if you missed it, I think you might still be able to get in on the action and be part of it. Also, if any of you saw the video or saw this trending or heard about it from someone else and you jumped in a position over here at 11 or 8, let us know down in the comment section. Brag a little bit, because this one, again, looking good today, new highs. And I'll end it there. Once again, Stocks by the Numbers, I want to thank you for stopping by. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, drop it down in the comment section. I'm usually pretty quick to reply. Thumbs up algorithm helps me get more eyes on the channel. And of course, subscribe to the channel. That is our handshake agreement. That is how you help me help you. But more importantly, moving forward, like I always say, I understand that markets are rocky, they're volatile, and they are very uncertain. So I want to wish all of you success. I hope everyone makes a couple of dollars. Thank you for your time. Have a good day.